All right, welcome back. We're wrapping up the presentation we've been working on last week. Now, these are the key questions that we were rating ourselves on in the beginning, and some of the things that you looked over at the notes. We looked at John Brown's attack on Harper's Ferry. How did it further divide the North and South? We looked at the election of 1860 and the issues. What were the key issues at that time? How did that election reflect the divisions of the country? How did these sectional divisions give the Republican Party the ability to win the election with its power in the larger northern states? South Carolina, it said it was out of there in late 1860. Why did South Carolina decide to secede from the Union? And how was it followed by other states, forming the beginning of a attempted rival state, the Confederacy? How did politicians attempt in the late winter, early spring, before Lincoln became president, how did they attempt to create compromise, or the created compromise, and how did it fail? We left looking at Fort Sumter, and what was left in its wake was an American Civil War. So I'm going to race through this to the last piece we need to look at here. We know when President Lincoln called for 75,000 troops, the states of Virginia, North Carolina, and with North Carolina and Arkansas decided to join the Confederacy. You can see those are the states that are listed are right here that are seen right here: Virginia, North Carolina, and Tennessee. They all joined the Confederacy only after the Union called for troops, where it appeared to be generally a war. So where do we go from there? We know that compromise has failed, but we have a couple of questions here about the power of symbolism. Attempting to create a new union, the Confederacy created a union of 11 slave states. If you take a look up at the top, that's the Confederate flag. And of course, it has 11 states representing the 11 slave states that would form the Confederacy by June 1861. The Confederacy had 11 states. But one thing you'll notice in the Union flag, there are 30 stars here still. The Union did not recognize the Southern states' right to leave the Union, so they kept their stars. So somewhere here, there's a South Carolina star, because the whole symbolism of the Union was that what the Confederacy was trying was not legal, so they did not recognize that the idea that South Carolina star didn't go from here to here. It was kept on the Union flag throughout the war. So actually, America would add some states during the Civil War. Off the top of my head, I could think of Kansas and Nevada, among others, that would join the Union. So Lincoln was committed to bring the Union together, and the government refused to acknowledge the Confederacy having left it. Now, the war that began in 1861 at Fort Sumter, where no one died, would become more bitter and more deadly than anybody could imagine. So let's take a look at, when we think of Abraham Lincoln, we think of this memorial. Lincoln is rated as one of America's foremost presidents, and this is the Lincoln Memorial right here. Now, the Lincoln Memorial is full of symbolism. There are 30 columns that circle the memorial, representing the 30 states that were states during the time Lincoln had become president. The idea was Lincoln did not lose any states to the Union. Along the top, I'm not sure, you might be able to see it here, you could see the states listed and when they were admitted to the Union. Nothing about secession. It was not acknowledged. So the idea of Lincoln's memorial represents the architecture of a nation that was held together by his leadership. So the Lincoln Memorial is full of that. So I have asked you in the notes to kind of take a swag. A swag is a scientific wild ass guess, and wild ass is an animal, so it's all legal here. Something I learned in a physics class in college. Well, the idea here is, why do you think this national memorial, which actually was built in the early 20th century, why do you think it was so important to associate Lincoln with the maintenance of the Union? This is a building that I wish I had the opportunity to take you guys to see this year, but who knows, maybe next year. But it's in a Greek style, a Greek memorial or a Greek temple. But what do you think the symbolism is? If you want to take a moment, you could stop the video and record your notes there, and I'll be interested to see what you guys come up with. Now that you're done, make sure your notes are complete, because I want you to keep your notes open when you take this next quiz. You'll find the quiz link under materials. It was posted this weekend. It's right up there with today's post. It's on TestMoz. Be sure when you enter your name, you put your class period and a space, then your last name. If you share a last name with someone else in class, please put your first initial too. The password for this is begin, and you'll know as soon as you're done, make sure you hit submit, and you'll know how well you did. When you're done with this, take the remainder of class to work on the movie poster, the movie poster activity, which more information will be available there. We should be done with this on Tuesday, so I'm guessing you'll probably have 15 or 20 minutes to work on it today, and we'll finish a creative activity in class tomorrow. So don't overthink it. Have fun with that activity, and I hope you do well on the quiz. But thank you, folks.